Welcome. So glad that you're here joining us. Appreciate you all for being here, and we're going to talk. Our sponsor today is JCO&T, so appreciate for them. Before we get here, a few minutes from them, just want to know we do have some folks joining us on Zoom, and so kind of some housekeeping things. If you keep muted and put your questions in the chat, or we'll give you a chance to unmute at the end and ask those. Oh, and we ask that you don't record anything for future use. So let's go around the room and do introductions. Shannon, you want to start with you?
Shannon Hawk with AT Government Strategies.
Come this way. Bob Gilbert, Bartlett West, and the Transportation Chair.
Veit Brown, Chamber Staff.
Susan, Chamber Staff. I didn't introduce myself, so.
Gage Class, Cowdy Hill Foster Care Ministries.
Lori Helsher, Ameren, Missouri. Jackie Coleman Associates.
Gary Plummer with the Chamber.
Laura Stoll, Council. And Kate Council.
Dan Basil on Helpers. Chrissy Red, Shepherd's Chair.
Good morning, Michelle Weaver, Human Speaking.
Good morning, Stu Murphy, Chamber Ambassador.
Good morning, Katrina Timmons, Central Bank and Chamber Ambassador.
And Tanner Rest with the Water Project.
Beth Cowgill, Liberty Family Medicine, Chamber Ambassador. Renee Dinkle, Central Bank Women Connect Chair and Chamber Ambassador.
Randy Scheer, RJ Scheer and Associates.
Jolynn Turley, State Fair Community College Legislative Assistant.
Rudy B, attorney and state representative 59th District.
Jim Schulte, State Representative, District 49, Callaway County.
Mike Bernskoetter, our Pest Control.
You got to get a benefit from that membership. You know, we got to make sure you renew, so good.
Jonathan Lorenz with Ameren, Missouri.
Grant Director of State Law, American Commission.
Cameron Gerber with the News Tribune.
David Kevin, Central Bank. Dan Leonard, retired. Todd Vaughn, Missouri.
Rob Fitzwater, Missouri Pharmacy Association, also manager of the
Eric Frank, Capital City, Casa, and Women Connect.
Julie Smith, News Tribune.
Ashley Watson, JCOT.
Tyler Watson, JCOT.
Good morning.
Josh Tattersall, Primerica Financial Services.
Taylor Wonka, Three Rivers Electric.
Randy Albert, MoDOT.
Kyle Bermer, Jefferson City Public Works.
Sherry California, Armstrong, Teasdale.
Brian Bernskoetter, RJ Scheer and Associates.
And a few in the room that joined us, we're doing introductions, so.
Renee Van Matrix, Open Lending Concepts.
Okay.
Julie Allen, City Council, Warsaw.
Do we miss anybody else? Okay, anyone online, you want to unmute yourself and introduce?
Good morning, Ralph Joe, Cole County Public Administrator.
Ed Tweehouse Excavating.
Claudia
Vicky,
from the library, good morning.
Vicki Culpepper, UCP Heartland.
Christy DeBure, Image Mark, Marketing and Advertising.
Brian Crane, City of Jefferson.
Shelley Schwartz, Mid-America Bank.
Lee Timmy, Chamber Staff.
Goldstein, JC Rep.
Doug Cruz, Clarkston Nelson.
Mark Jones, Central Dairy.
Anyone else online want to introduce yourself? Going. Okay, a few more in the room. We had a couple folks join us. We just did introductions. Sally, do you want to?
Hi, Sally Moore, and you don't hear how hard you have this.
Clyde Lester, City Council, Ward 2.
Okay, good. Want to take this time to welcome some of our newer chamber members that have joined the chamber since we had our Friday coffee labs. AJ Auto Trim, Ameriprise Financial, Excel Orthopedic and Pain Center, Mo Ink and Stitch, Summit Branding and Apparel, and Trade. So we welcome those new members. I don't think we have any of those new members with us today. Hopefully we'll see them at a future Friday coffee. Well, I mentioned our sponsor earlier, JCONT. The doctors are back in the corner. Dr. Watson, come on up, Ashley and Tyler. If you haven't had a chance to meet them, we had a wonderful ribbon cutting a year ago. It's hard to believe that it's been a year, but I'm sure they're gonna tell you about their facility that they have on High Street. And I'm gonna pass the clicker to you.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm Dr. Ashley Watson, as mentioned in introductions.
I'm Dr. Tyler Watson.
So we trained at MU Healthcare Cat Region for our residency program, and now we're in the community. So a little bit about what we do. We offer some new options to Jefferson City as far as direct primary care. Direct primary care is a newer model that's subscription-based, so you pay by the month, not by the visit. You come as often as you need to. We limit our panel size to provide that increased access, so you get in when you need to. Last minute pull, we have you covered. And they also have at-cost labs, helping save you money. We contract to get you the best price possible, and we can get you at-cost generic prescriptions. So a lot of times, because we're not turning a profit on those, we can increase that affordability for you on the other side. So we believe direct primary care is the way of the future, and are very excited to be here.
A couple of things that make us a little bit distinctive. For one, we are both DOs, so we have an osteopathic approach. For you, that means that our philosophy is a little bit more holistic than a typical allopathic approach. And that also means that we can offer manipulative treatment. So a lot of people like to compare it to chiropractic or massage. It's a little bit different, but a lot more hands-on. We also are trained in integrated medicine. So if you like your contemporary medicine with pharmaceuticals, that's great. We offer all that. We're trained in things like laceration repairs, so we can cut up those last-minute cuts in your fingers. We also are trained in doing supplements. We like to focus on lifestyle, so of course that diet and exercise, but if you want to take a little bit more natural approach, we can help you there too. So overall, we like to have a values-based approach where we listen to what your needs are. If you want to go this direction, we want to make a plan to help you with that. If you want to go this other direction, we can go that way too.
Alright, and we also network with small businesses, so if you want to be the most competitive employer in the Cole County area, we are happy to work with you. This is not an alternative to insurance, but if you are struggling to pay for those UBI premiums and you're maybe moving towards a health savings or a high deductible plan for your employees, we can be a really helpful add-on that makes you a very attractive employer in the area.
And today for our door prize, we have some element swag. So we have both some sample packs. Is anyone familiar with the electrolyte packs element? They're great. Also a water bottle, put that in, a t-shirt, as well as some herbal teas. I'll put those right there.
Does anybody have any questions? Did you say where you were located?
616 East High Street, like 2 blocks over, it's great.
You've probably seen their location. Anybody have any questions? Yeah.
You mentioned generic drugs. Do you carry them yourself?
Yes. Yes. Yes, we dispense them to patients as part of our panel. So you do have to be part of the panel for legal reasons, but
We're not a pharmacy.
you're not a pharmacy.
All right, thank you.
Do you have hospital privileges?
We do.
We do social visits.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else left, draw for the door prize? So that is up to you. Tyler's right behind you there. All right.
That.
You can give it to somebody else.
Now, don't you love the chamber? Would you guys want to say why this is a little bit
Well,
funny?
so we do the same thing, and we actually pass business back and forth to each other because their clinic has a little bit more specialty care than what we can provide at Liberty Family Medicine, so.
The Liberty's awesome too, and we're friends
Yeah.
with everybody who works there.
That's
This
right.
is not branded with our stuff, this is just Element if you'd like.
Sure. Thank
I
you.
think the chamber's kind of like Little League. You know, we're all competitors, but we might be related or neighbors or, cousins. So we're competitive, but,
Should I hold this?
I hold it. All right. That's good.
Put it down lower, easy lower.
Good. All right. Thank you guys. Okay. Well, good. Thank you guys. Appreciate that sponsorship. All right, very good. Okay, and sponsors for Friday Coffee, they get obviously to do this presentation. organization, and we promote them in our e-blast. But Rochelle, do you want to tell them, we partner with Cumulus to give more value for that
Sure,
sponsorship?
we were already talking about possibly doing some kind of an advertising branding campaign, so now this will kickstart it. They get 25 free ads, we have 5 radio stations, those are 2 of them. But you pick a station, we'll craft you a 30-second radio ad and get that message you guys just said on one of our airwaves to let other people know that, yes.
Good, okay, I think we're asleep. There we go. All right, couple quick announcements. We have Renee, do you want to talk about this one?
I sure can. Next week, Women Connect is sponsoring our first ever professional development luncheon. We are having TJ Sweet. He's a great motivational speaker coming from the Lake of the Ozarks. He's probably going to be the only man in the room, and he's very brave. But it's going to be great. We're open to about 50 women right now. We're in the mid-40s, so there's still a few openings. If you have some women in your place of business or that are here that have not registered yet, it's lunch for Women Connect members is $25, $30 for non-members. So this is one of 2 professional development lunches that we'll have this year, and open to non-members. So we're pretty excited about it, and please share if you have other people that would like to attend.
And Darcy, we appreciate your role.
Yeah.
Good. All right, we have an event coming up at the end of this month. It's June 26th. We always have this on the last Thursday of the month on even months. We call it Speed Leads Networking. And if you look at the photos there, it's just that. You come together, bring your business cards for the first part of the meeting. You interact and network, exchange, like I said, exchange business cards. And then we call you one by one and you get to do your pitch, your 30-second pitch. So it's a great way for you to meet other chamber members, other businesses. When you leave, you'll have about maybe 20 people there. You've met 20 people, you've learned something that they do in their business, or maybe an event that they're involved in, a volunteer organization. So we encourage you to take advantage of our Speed Leads networking. If you've been one time, you can come back because it changes every time. So June 26th at 8 a.m. and that's at Mel's. Battle of the Brutes. Who's here in leadership? All right.
Best class ever last year.
Well, we're working on meeting it this year. So anyway, I believe August 23rd, we're in the planning process to have Battle of the Brewers out at the fairgrounds. I think right now we have 22 to 23, I guess, brewers. We're working with home brewers. We're still in the process of maybe talking to some commercial brewers to see if they would like to attend. I know we've got some feedback that there's some people that like to go, but they don't necessarily like the home brews, they like their traditional. So maybe we can have some conversations with that. But there's a logistics team kind of working on that part. There's a marketing team. So if you're interested in maybe marketing here at the event to some capacity, I'd love to talk to you. But leadership just met yesterday, so at the end of it, we just kind of...
Remind me, is this for the, what the benefits?
Benefits is for capital projects and the Salvation Army.
I thought it was
So every year they choose a different, I guess, organization to promote and sponsor. So this year they picked capital projects and the Salvation Army.
Good, thanks.
So,
Tim, not
Aaron,
put you on the spot.
Well, it is specifically for the Salvation Army, it's for the family center to increase the amount of families that they can hold to help with that. The bands that will be there is Cassie Treehouse and Cousins McDaniel, and we have food trucks. We're gonna have several food trucks. We'll also be Flamin' Barbecue and Busy Creek Parking.
Good. Team effort. Way to go. Good. All right. Today's program before, I was going to say before the program, Mayor, would you like to give the city update?
Sure. Appreciate the opportunity, I may do it from back here so I don't interrupt folks, but there's a lot going on in your city, so hopefully as you're out and about, you'll see some of the exciting activities. We've got the cycling complex down on the south side that is broken ground, so there's a lot of excitement around that project and what it's going to be and the economic impact that it will have on this community. The river market project has started, so the property that we were conveyed from the state of Missouri down at the MSP site, we're doing some final work on the Chestnut Street extension for that project and also for the state, the new lab that the state is putting in. So we're keeping Mr. Bringer and his department very busy on some projects right now. The new tower over at the airport, we thank Congressman Lutmeyer, who got the project started. Congressman Anders kind of hit the ground running with projects in the city. So that's an exciting project in our airport, which is a very important economic engine in this city, so we're very excited about that project. And then I compliment our planning and zoning and our city council. When I came in a couple years ago, the mantra was housing, housing, housing. We had just had a housing study released in August of 22. So as we come in, we have been laser focused on housing. Exciting thing is we've got between 600 and 700 units either been approved or in the final stages of being approved. The city council will have a very exciting project coming in on their agenda Monday night. It's a project from McBride Homes, who's been attracted to this community, 230 homes, and the exciting thing is it's all the way from 2-bedroom workforce housing up to more upscale housing on the backside of the project. So there'll be a public hearing on Monday, and then it's up for a final vote from council. So it's an exciting project. We've also got Mr. Farr's project out in our Wildwood extension, another 140 units there proposed, and then on the north side, another 116 from Hemi Construction out of Columbia. Planning and zoning approved another, I think, a 12 and 14 unit project off of Country Club. So we've got exciting housing projects going all over the city and a lot of other things. Last thing I would mention is the conference center. We're still pushing forward with that. And a little bad news in May, but we're gonna get around that. We're working with our bondholders and kind of sharpening the pencil one more time. But that project is moving forward. We've got a proposal on the agenda Monday night for the next step in that project, which is to begin the schematic design phase. So taking what we think fits on that site and saying, here's how it fits and what it looks like. We're doing the final right sizing of what the project looks like. Possibility, and I know Kyle has been very active in this, but we're looking at what the process is going to be. We've hired Bartlett and West to do the study on taking down the current garage, because that's going to be the next step in that project. So sometime possibly this fall or early part of the winter, that project may start as we get ready for construction in 2026. So there's a lot of exciting things. We appreciate the support from the community on these projects. I know there's still some questions, and council has been asking some good questions, but the exciting thing is we're starting to see that momentum that let's get these things fixed and let's move forward with the convention center and just all the other things going on in the community. So thanks for your support. Thanks for what this organization does. Gary and the entire team here have been very supportive and kept us involved in the process, and we really appreciate that. But each of you individually have, spoke to people at meetings, and Renee's my biggest cheerleader, so she pushes the project for us. So there's a lot of exciting things going on. It's an exciting time to be active in Jefferson City, so thank you.
I'm going to turn it over to Gary now to introduce the program.
Thank you very much. Mayor, appreciate that update. Thank you all for being here this morning. Just a show of hands, how many of you went to First Met Bank this morning before you came? Okay, all right. We appreciate your persistence. We ran into some technical difficulties this week at the bank. The Zoom capabilities didn't match what we could do for this program. We knew with the Government Relations Committee and Transportation Committee involved this morning in this report that we're going to have a lot of folks on Zoom, and it turned out we did have a lot of folks registered on Zoom. So we took a chance to move the event at the last minute over here. In fact, and then our air conditioner broke in this room, so we hope it doesn't get too hot between now and 10 o'clock.
It's Friday the 13th.
Yes, we scheduled the air conditioner work for Monday, and it didn't quite last, but we'll get through it today. We have live from location at First Met Bank. We have our reporter in the field, Ashley Temmie. Ashley, are you with us?
Hi, this is Ashley. Good morning. Reporting live. Reporting live from First Mid Bank and Trust. It is lots of rain here. We've only had to send away 5 chamber members, and we've had a family of raccoons show up.
What's the mood like with those raccoons?
They're a little frisky. What was that, Gary?
We appreciate you being on location, Ashley. Thank you for taking one for the team.
Yes, absolutely. I'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Backwards reporting live.
You know, we have some special guests this morning we want to recognize before we get to our legislative panel. Bob Gilbert, who is a past chairman of the chamber and is currently our transportation committee chairman, is with us this morning, and his committee was invited to be here either on Zoom or in person as well. We appreciate Bob's continued leadership in the chamber, and especially appreciate Bartlett West for being our strategic partner on advocacy, one of our 5 key strategies here at the chamber. And now I want to introduce Shannon Hawk, who is the chair of the Government Relations Committee. Shannon worked for AT Government Strategies. She's been a great resource for us since we reactivated our Government Relations Committee a few years ago. She is able to really help us understand what's going on at the state capitol, and that's very helpful. She accepted our invitation to moderate today's panel. So if you let me welcome Shannon Hawk.
Thank you all so much for coming out today and braving the weather. I wasn't for sure how, if the weather would keep some folks from coming, but you know, whenever we have our lawmakers here, we definitely want to pack the room. So thank you all so much for being here. You've been introduced, but I do want to just give a little bit more background. Senator Bernskoetter served for 8 years in the House of Representatives before moving to the Senate. I think you have 1 year left, is that right? Sure. I know, I can appreciate you saying arts pest control when you were introduced today, because finally you all get back to your real jobs, right? And all these extra sessions are all over with, at least for right now, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm gonna have too much downtime between session and then a special session.
This was probably your first real week off.
Yeah, my wife made me kill bugs.
He serves as the chairman of the Fiscal Oversight Committee in the Senate, so he gets to review the fiscal note on bills and determine if they're going to move forward, if we can afford to pay for those bills as we pass them. And then we have Representative Schulte. You, I believe, are on utilities, if I remember correctly, and you vice chair for crime and public safety and veterans and armed forces committees. And you actually were first elected in 2022, so we're going to get to keep you a little bit longer in the House, we hope. You're going to be around for a while. I'm happy about that. And Representative B, you know, you're the person that the lawmakers tell me all the time. If they can't figure something out, if they're trying to sort through something they don't understand, they say, we gotta go see Rudy.
I don't know these bills.
Well, you know, you must, you've led them to believe you know something, because they sure like to come get a lot of wisdom from you, and I hear that an awful lot. And I know you've got, you're on judiciary and general laws and corrections and public institutions. So what's really interesting about these 3 lawmakers that we have here is they're all on different committees, very diverse committees, really covering kind of a broad range. So we're very well covered by our local lawmakers. And of course, we had a couple of lawmakers that couldn't be here today. We're missing Representative Dave Griffith, and I believe Senator Travis Fitzwater was also invited, but we had a couple of conflicts today. But again, you know, all 5 of them together really bring a very diverse background, and then the committees that they serve on give our local area great coverage. You know, we're there, they've got their fingers on the pulse of a lot of different things. So thank you all so much for being here today. We really thought that we were going to be able to give you a little bit more time off before we invited you to participate in the legislative panel. But unfortunately, as I said, this is really the Senator's first week off, because the Senate finished up their work last week in special session. And then you all, you've been done 2 days. This is, Wednesday was your last day, so they've not had much of a break at all.
It's not your fault. It was your idea.
It was, no. You know, we had a record number of bills that were filed this year. year. There were over 2,600 bills filed, and I can remember for the longest time when the average was about 2,000 bills a year, and now it just continues to just creep up every year. So we have more and more bills to work on. And of those 2,600 or so bills, we had about 67 bills that passed. 16 of those were appropriations bills. I felt like, for me personally, I felt like this session went pretty well. The regular session went pretty well. Everybody seemed to be getting along. The House and Senate were getting along. People were talking with the governor. It just seemed to be working well. And I'll tell you, I'm confident that they were working well. Some folks might say that there was a little turmoil toward the end. There always is. There always is turmoil towards the end. So that's nothing new. Because the lobbyists have to work hard. We have to work really super hard. So, get it? We good? Nope. Lobbyists had to work really, really hard. That's how I know that they were getting along and they were working really well together, because when they're not getting along and we have these filibusters that go on for hours and sometimes days, it gives us lobbyists a little time to relax, kind of catch up on some things. We didn't have that this year. You guys made us work hard. So, we say 67 bills that passed, but I had to tell you, there's a lot more that passed than just 67 bills, because a lot of those bills had a variety of different things in them. You had, a wonderful utilities package. You had a couple of big local government bills, which utilities bills and local government bills are very, very hard to pass. So, those were some things that we got across the line. Utilities bills, so that was really good. Public safety, we did a lot this year on public safety, so that was all really good. I'm interested to hear from you though. I think we were getting along and we've got a lot done. But what do you think about this session? So we'll start with you, Senator.
Yeah, I thought everything went pretty well until the end, like you said. We'll talk a little bit about the end at some point, but, the utility bill, has been something we've been working on for several years. And even the best idea takes several years to get passed typically. And so, yeah, the Senator Serpoy did a great job working with the utility companies and with the senators that were for it, against it, trying to come up with a package. And then, like you said, the public safety piece, I don't know how many of y'all know that, but Missouri was in charge of the St. Louis police up until, I think I was in the House, when we turned it over back to St. Louis, and then you saw what happened in St. Louis, so we took it back over again this year, and then we eliminated a capital gains tax. So there was a lot of big pieces of legislation that got done.
Any comments about this session?
No, this was my third year, second term, so compared to the first 2 years, this was an unbelievable improvement. Good conversation, good discussion back and forth, cooperation, working between the House and the Senate. And I think we probably passed twice as many bills as the board than the previous year, so yeah, I was very happy with that.
Well, I was excited until like the end, and again, we had a lot of bills that died at the end, and, a little more push may have passed, and some of these bills, you talk about new bills that are being filed, but there's always new representatives, new ideas. There's also a ton of bills that just recycle from year to year to year. We took all the recycled ones. We did get some major legislation done. I had high hopes. I had one of my bills, which was our administrative law judges in Missouri, workers' comp were appointed now for life. No way to really get rid of them, and that created a problem. We had a bill to fix that. That chamber support, we had matter support, we had industrial labor support. We did 5 bills passed out of the House and all Senate bills back, and some of them have never cleared the line. It's those things like that, common sense bills that you need to spend a little more time on. I mean, we spend a lot of time on ideology bills, but we need to figure out a way to move some of these, just run the business bills earlier. But certainly the atmosphere, you gotta admit, Keel's the type of guy that will, if somebody get it done, he can. like I said, he doesn't call you to his office, he lets you, he'll drop in and talk to you, and he, you know, this, when we passed the bill, which is the Royals and Chiefs, I don't know of any other person that could have put together that deal other than what he did, so.
That's really easy for you, wasn't it? Thank you very much. Well, we definitely have to make sure we have enough time to talk a little bit about the budget. The budget process seemed to go quite well. You know, they put 300 million extra in to fund the foundation formula. There's an awful lot of money that's been added in the budget for low volume roads and other road and bridge projects across the state. I know anywhere you travel right now, there's road construction, and I know you're very upset about it when you do it, because I am too. But I just say that's progress, and we're gonna be really, really happy when it's done. But we're gonna have to go through a little pain for a while, I think, to get there. There was 123 million put in for community development block grants. That's a big deal. That program, I believe, is kind of on the chopping block at the federal level. So that's a big deal. And 26 million for tourism. One of the things, obviously, we were interested in here in our community was House Bill 19, which was a capital improvements bill, and it had some money in it for both the new juvenile detention facility as well as some funding for the mayor's project that he just talked about, part of the garage in the convention center. And that kind of fell apart right at the very end of session, and we didn't get that done. I kind of hoped that when we came back in special session that maybe, you know, when they brought up some of those capital improvements bills, there would be an opportunity, but since this was general revenue money, that really didn't happen. I'd love to get your comments on what happened with House Bill 19 and kind of what you see going forward, and certainly with the mayor here, if you need to comment as well. We've obviously got to find a new path forward for some funding.
So, yeah, like you said, we had money in there, 20 million in there for the parking garage, we had 15 million in there for the prison. Those buildings over there need to be kept up. You know, some of the representatives are like, this is ghoulish, why are we keeping this old prison alive? But everybody in this room knows how important that is for tourism in our area and just the history of the prison. We had 4 million in there for the juvenile detention center. We actually, the mayor mentioned the soccer fields. We had $1 million in there for the soccer fields as well. So there was a lot of money that helped the local economy that, just like you said, fell apart at the end.
I think we may have been getting carried away earlier, but passing bills and passing a lot of expenses, and then dawned on one moment just how much we had spent. And so 19 was easy as cut. 19 isn't about pork barrel party, it's projects that the representatives and senators know they're important to their district. It's not pork, it's that we know better individually what the lawyer or Red Mountain St. Louis police all needs, and those are very good projects. And we tended to just, because they're last on the list, they're the first to go. And you've seen what our budget's looking like. Our budget calls me really concerned, because I'm also chair of the Capital Commission. We meet every week, all through the summer and every time. They're meeting right now, dealing, trying to get remodeled the Capitol and building a parking garage and making that all, that's $600 million. I know we don't use it this year, the garage is going to try to steal it next year. And so we meet every week, sometimes I meet during the week with them, just trying to get the Capitol, Senate garage, building on, getting rid of the mezzanine. But the Capitol needs just a lot of repair. We have a beautiful Capitol, a lot of, you know, we need to prepare for the next couple years. And our budget, our bills that go through, we need to stress that, you know, you talk about the road construction, I look at that differently. We're building our duty to maintain roads and that for future generations. Letting roads deteriorate and all that is not being conservative, it's being selfish. And so we need to continue to have road repairs and that.
Well, and you talked about, you know, kind of realizing toward the end how much money was being spent and then pulling back on that House Bill 19. But then we went right into special session after that, right? We spent some more money. So would you have any comments about, you know, the additional money that's been spent now and what do you think is gonna happen?
Fortunately, I'm not on the budget committee, but I've talked to those that are on it, what they did, going in, said, our goal when we finish this budget is that we will leave 1.9 billion in the surplus for the state. Governor Kehoe's budget came in and left 1.3 billion. The Senate budget, when we got it back, left 900 million. So really, the House and the Senate were $1 billion apart on this. And we went through and we submitted ours to them April 17th. Got it back the last week. We got those last three, I think, back at 2 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. Our budget chair and our speaker, without saying anything, just decided to hold back and not vote on 19. That's how it came to be. We came out of session and they immediately called a conference meeting, and just said it came in too full, we couldn't justify it, so we didn't vote on 19. So then when we came back for a special session, and there was some more negotiating, some things made it, some didn't, and I don't know what the final bottom line ended up being. I haven't heard that.
And perhaps at the time that they made that decision, they kind of knew that we were heading towards a special session and the possibility of needing to have some more money to put on the table. You know, I don't know that, but I guess it's a possibility.
I don't even, I'll say this, we had a big conference meeting before we went in. Everybody agreed that we would let the budget chair and the speaker make the final decisions on how we did it. It was an open forum discussion, and we finally said we've got to trust leadership on doing this. That's why we elected them to be the leadership, so that's where we're going forward.
Would you all like to talk just a little bit about your impression of the special session and just talk a little bit about what happened, what you passed?
Well, our senator is closest to the action now, so I'm sure he'll explain the logic and why.
Yeah, you were pretty involved in special session, were you not, Senator?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I'm chair of fiscal oversight, so the bills had to go through the fiscal oversight committee. You know, I tried everything I could to try to get the projects for Jeff City back in the budget, or back in the special session. I also tried, a lot of y'all probably, or I don't know how many of y'all have Anthem insurance, but everybody knows about the Anthem MU thing. I said, look, you know, if we can't get these projects back in there, let's come to some agreement with MU and Anthem. I wasn't able to do that either. I talked to an MU guy before I got here this morning, and I think it's gonna have to take somebody more than the MU and Anthem to figure this out. You know, he mentioned that the governor is interested. He's watched it long enough. He wants to get in the middle of it. But as far as the special session goes, you know, there's a lot of money in there for the storm damage. There was money in there for the reactor of MU, and then there was money in there for the sports teams. And to me, I'm not sure it was a great investment, but I just think that the state as a whole is better off with the Chiefs and the Royals than without. And so that's what it came down for me. You know, there's so many things that you can't even calculate that go on with the Chiefs, you know, being a part of Missouri. You know, they've talked about how they had the racetrack in Kansas, and that could have all been here in Missouri, and we missed that opportunity. The Nebraska Furniture Mart, there's all kinds of stuff up there around the racetrack, and all those things could have been in Missouri. And then you look at, and you know, St. Louis has been declining for a while, but if you look at St. Louis, downtown St. Louis, there's so many buildings that aren't being used, and you think if the Rams would have stayed there, the Rams and the Cardinals, that you would think most of those buildings would still be occupied. So that all played into my decision on the special session.
Well, you know, on the Rams and Chiefs, I've got a lot of emails against it, but you look at it purely from an economic standpoint. That's what you gotta look at, not from who's gaining, but the economic standpoint of state. We will have more money with them staying, even if you don't consider all the collateral benefits of it. That's a hard decision for us to make, a lot of emails, giving millionaires and millionaires breaks. It had nothing to do with that, you just put pencil and paper to it, like you would a business, it's a good economic decision, and that doesn't even begin to account the other effect, like if you're a business moving to Missouri, who wants to move to a state that's losing? We kept the chief, we kept the Rams, who wants to, all the other side benefits of it, those are things you can't measure, putting all that aside, it's pure tax economics, it's a winning deal. Now, when you explain that to the voters, it's a different challenge. But you asked about the rest of the stuff on the special session, there's politics out there, and people, you need certain votes to get something done. And so you do have to make deals. You don't like it all, but you do have to make deals to get those things done. And that's where we miss with the senator being had the fiscal review over there. He has a lot of power. He's as conservative as anybody here. But you also have to look at the realistic end. It takes give and take. Sometimes you do think you know your constituents are only going to hear one line.
Well, we know how it goes over there, right? I mean, the compromise, everybody's gonna be a little bit unhappy with the compromise, but that it usually turns out to be a good thing, right? We can get people to kind of come together.
I'll agree with part of that.
Part of it. Okay, what part do you not agree with? I can appreciate that.
No, you do have to compromise, but I'm not sure we always end up with the right solution.
That's true, that is true. But it definitely usually when something gets done, if everybody's a little bit unhappy, that's usually kind of the way that it ends up over there. No one's ever like 100% happy.
So you mentioned compromise, and we talked about how good this session was, and it was good, I thought. But in the last couple of years, compromise has been a dirty word.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nobody wanted to compromise.
And I usually work with concession or but it's a different word we had for it.
So you don't like to use compromise as the dirty word?
Well, everybody thought it was a dirty word. I don't think it's a dirty word.
Yeah, I don't think it's a dirty word either, but the last couple of years, it has been a dirty word. Nobody wanted to compromise.
I just want to say on the sports bill, there were two key things that were said that really influenced my decision. And the governor came and saw us twice in the House. We had a committee or a conference meeting, and he came twice and addressed it and just laid it out from a business standpoint. I don't know if people realize, but we get a little over $50 million a year from those teams in income tax. Every visiting team that plays in those stadiums pays income tax based on their salary. It's a huge revenue source. If they move out of state, we lose all that. What they agreed to do on this one was, it's a 30-year commitment. If they agree, the Chiefs and the Royals both have to commit to stay for 30 years. So they can't pull out like the Rams did. They're going to put up the first half of the money for the new complex they built. And then Missouri's going to bond the rest and use that $50 million in taxes to pay for the bond. So nobody in here is going to be paying more taxes to support the stadium or that. We're just shifting, we either lose all of it to Kansas or to Tennessee supporting the Royals as well. They're trying to get them to go to Tennessee.
So that's all money that's generated inside the stadium.
By them. But what we also lose if they leave is we lose all the small business that's generated in hotels, motels, gas stations, restaurants, employment for all those people that work in those businesses. You're talking about jobs and job growth. So when I look at this as an economic development, it makes sense that it's better for the overall community. And it has ripple effects across the state. I've never been to a Chiefs game, but I've been to Super Bowl parties. There was a lot of food bought, a lot of drink, and everybody was wearing Chiefs jerseys and ball caps. And so it generates a lot of supplemental income that I don't know how you measure that or put a dollar figure on it. And then the second thing that really helped me make the decision was, we have a representative who used to be mayor of St. Joseph. He said that when he was the mayor of St. Joseph, they had a company from Spain come to St. Joseph looking to put in a manufacturing plant in St. Joe. And he said, we rolled out the red carpet, we took them all over, we showed them our city, we talked about it, everything else, and ultimately they decided not to invest in us. And when I asked them, why did you not come to St. Joseph? And the reply was, should we invest in a city when you won't invest in yourself? So that is, all of you in this room, that just, whatever you decide to do with Jefferson City or any other community, that has an impact on companies moving here. They look at all the things that we're doing. And that helped me decide too, that if we're not gonna invest in a football and a baseball team that are huge, impact with the whole city, why would anybody else wanna come here?
One of the parts of the bill that we also owe gratitude to our senators, that is on the real estate property. One, I personally believe, and I think most people believe, is going to be declared unconstitutional, but he stuck to his principles of local control. Our county commissioners can do more than just what we need in the legislature. We're looking for a legislature to control our day-to-day operations. Every time you want to change it, you got to get a bill through to change it. We have a serious problem. And that bill went through, but he also kept in Cole County, we have a catastrophe happen. We can vote to do what we need to do. Our county commissioners can't raise taxes on their own anyway. They have to go to both people. They can still cut taxes. And we never know when something, we have a tornado hit several schools, we got to raise some money. Who thinks it's possible to go back to the legislature and get a bill to solve that problem? By the time we get to the legislature, that problem is either blown out of control or not, And so standing up for what local control in that, even though it's not popular, that's what we need up there.
We thank you for that very much. I know Bob, our transportation chairman, has a couple of questions. I want to make sure that you get an opportunity to ask your questions before we run out of time. So I'm going to switch it over to you, Bob.
Okay.
To take it on.
Maybe I'll jump on what Rudy was just saying about local control. One of the things, I guess maybe several bills this year as well as in previous years and amendments that were thrown out seem to, I call it kind of target methods to place control for transportation funding. Again, I'm the transportation chair, so obviously that's going to be my topic. But there seem to be a movement of more bills and amendments that are essentially trying to remove control, take control from the Highway Commission and put it to the legislature, which, again, probably lots of opinions on that, but I guess I wonder about, your all's thoughts on the pros and cons of that, and is that going to continue to be in the legislative session next year, do you think?
We don't need all these bills, and they're delegating power to the legislature that the highway department has. But just look at the power that small people had on this last bill, what they can do on projects. We're gonna filibuster if we don't get this project. What part of the state has more legislators than the other part? This is rural, the urban areas. So out here, I don't know how we stand a beginner's chance if we're gonna leave it up to the legislature to dictate what project. I told them that for me to go visit my farm up north, I'm gonna put a winch on my truck, bringing me a road to rural America. But we need that stuff. We're not that much smarter than the highway department. They have engineers. At one of the hearings I said, most of us up there couldn't build a good birdhouse with a YouTube video. And they want to control all the bridges and everything. It's going to be a total power struggle, total flip. So what can I get from my district? And we see little groups carry tremendous amount of weight. There's more in urban areas than in rural. So we're going to end up on short end of the stick every time those bills get through. That's just my opinion.
I share it. I guess I'm just one person, but yeah, the work that we do, I know you representatives here from MoDOT in the room, but the states around us, that we work with, none of them can get projects done as fast and as efficiently as MoDOT can. So there's, I guess, for me to convey that to you all, it just seems ridiculous that we keep talking about ways to pull that good working system apart at this point. So, Representative or Senator, you guys, is this going to keep coming back, or what's the
Human nature being what it is, they fall in right about the same level as all these billionaires we're giving money to. Everybody wants to complain about it because they had a pothole that they hit. I know when they started the overpass repairs last year down here, it was like, oh my gosh, think of what this is going to be like. And I said, 6 months from now, nobody will even remember having to be backed up in traffic. Well, they remember it this year because we're doing it again just a mile down the road. But once it's finished and traffic sails through, it's fine. I-70 is the same thing, it's, you know, you gotta have a little pain to get ahead of it, and I drove from Columbia to Kingdom City yesterday, coming back from Columbia. I mean, it's a lot of construction, but we sailed right through. I think, given the hand they're dealt at MoDOT, I didn't think I'd ever say this, but I think they really are doing a good job with what they're got to deal with. It's just, if there's a shortfall, it's just in educating the public, like anything else. You've got to do a better job communicating with people so they understand that there's no perfect solution to anything. I like to tell everybody, there's not going to be a perfect world where we're all people. Till then, we probably ought to learn how to get along and work things out.
I love the idea of picking projects for myself. But no, seriously, it would never work, you know, like Representative B said, it would never work, you know, letting us pick the projects in our district. You know, MoDOT, you know, they have their 5-year plan, their 10-year plan, you know, they know which ones are the safest intersections and most dangerous intersections. You know, we don't know all that stuff, we just know what we think is best. But I think they're better. You know, you mentioned other states not being able to do it. Do they do it differently in other states? Where you said we can get it done quicker than most states around us.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're
Do they let legislators pick in those other states?
Some do. I'll call it the efficiency a lot of times comes from, I think of it just as an attitude of pushing projects and not trying to create hurdles and stops. You know, there's a lot of states that will do a preliminary design on a project and it'll sit for a year while reviews and other things happen. And everybody almost forgets what they did. You know, a year later, we kind of pick back up and keep it going, whereas MoDOT's a little more just like, I've seen the I-70 expansion that's been happening. I mean, that just went through the legislature like 2 years ago. And we're already literally building 2 major sections of it. And have, you know, we have 5 years to go, by the way, as a state to get all the way through. So there's still gonna be some pain, but imagine 5 years from now, we get 6 lanes across the state on the busiest corridor we have. That's a big deal.
Even getting the highway efficiency director appointed by the legislature will create that problem, because your projects are 5, 10, 15 years, you get a new director, he's gonna change course, we're stop I-70, it's not on his agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why we're out of state out, why they don't want it in it. And, even if you assume that the highway department's doing a horrible job, which I don't, we would only do it worse.
Appreciate the comments on that, and a lot of it's back to educating everyone as to how this all works, and we can always do better at that. Do I still have time? Okay. I got one more question. The other thing, in recent years, you know, we've been seeing more general revenue being dedicated to transportation investment in the state. That actually is a fairly new thing. I'm guessing 3 to 4 years ago, it's kind of where some general revenue started getting directed. For those of you in the room that don't know, you know, general revenue is really the source of funding that is improving I-70 across the state. The Focus on Bridges program, which was a very diverse geography of lots of bridge replacements, was a general revenue program. And so I guess, you know, some of the challenges with the surplus shrinking and so on is probably going to change some of that. But I wonder, from you all's perspective, do you see that as a good trend to be shifting GR to transportation investment? And then do you predict that it's going to keep happening, or do you have a sense of where that's going in the future?
That is a project that would not have been done if we did not have the surplus. I can call it COVID money, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
We're not going to have that money. General revenue is going to short. So I see the highway department budget being restricted more and more, relying on gas tax, and that's got its own challenges.
Yeah.
But certainly, we're not going to write out $1 billion checks in the future for. I mean, you look at I-44. I was at the highway department. I saw some of the base that on I-44 that was replaced. It was a disaster. We hadn't had the additional money, the COVID money. I-44 would not have gotten done. There's tons and tons of trucks going on that road. I think it's like everything. We're going to start looking at our budget a whole lot closer.
I know that the gas tax passed before I was elected, but that was a big talking point when I was campaigning. It's interesting, the people that complain the loudest seem to be libertarian, and they believe in a consumption tax. We shouldn't have any personal property, everything's consumption. When I looked at the gas tax, I thought it didn't have a consumption tax. It's based on who uses it, so I'm not sure where the argument comes, but as I understand it, the gas tax has helped with a lot of these road projects and the work that's gone into it. Representative Veit said the COVID money, that was what was used to do I-70. That was a one-time pot of money so that we weren't paying out of a renewable fund that we have to keep going back to every year. So I like that idea as well.
Well, you know that with the gas tax too, what people don't talk about it a lot is that, you know, that's not all just coming from Missouri, right? That's the people that are coming through our state, or coming to visit our state, that are purchasing gas while we're doing that. So we're getting a little money from out of state as well.
Yeah, I don't really remember exactly when we had that discussion, but it seemed like it was around 40% of the money is out of state money. And then, you know, instead we had the federal dollars for I-70, so, I think we're gonna have to look at ways, you know, start cars getting more efficient and stuff. If you have electric cars, we're gonna have to look at some other way of people that use roads but don't pay a gas tax, or maybe something else we have to do in the future. But I don't see a lot of budget money being used for those projects.
And with I-70 expanding, you remember, the bigger the ship, the more water it takes to keep it afloat. Now it's up 2 lanes, we have 3 lanes to maintain, and that's a lot of water. But we have to have good transportation for economic development. It just doesn't happen anymore.
Shannon and Bob, I think on that note, we're gonna have to wrap up our panel discussions. I want to really thank the 3 legislators for being with us this morning and for your leadership throughout the year. Thank you for your public service. Let's give them a round.
Okay, in the last few minutes, does anybody have any member announcements for the group? Anybody? Member announcements?
I just wanted to say thank you for the chamber, all the robust attendees yesterday at the ribbon cutting at our new pharmacy, Southwest Pharmacy, which is over in the campus where the Goldschmidt Cancer Center is, the St. Cook Healthplex is, and our Southwest Clinic. So excited to offer more access to patients to a pharmacy on that Southwest area. So thank you for all your presence and leadership.
Anybody else? Any other announcements? Gary?
I just wanted to remind everybody that Juneteenth is tomorrow morning at the Lincoln campus this year. Be more activity going on over at, I think it's called Soldiers Field, behind the gymnasium and the Boys and Girls Club, that area down there. The Chamber and our Minority Business Council will be there for a major sponsor of that event. Hope